What's up, sports fans? This is Sports Beat, the final show of the semester, and we are going out with a bang. We're talking Olympics, sports betting, and yes, even a little WWE. All that and more just around the corner. Sports Beat starts now. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for tuning into the final episode of Sports Beat, where we bring you all that's going on in the wide world of sports, from the latest in Hofstra athletics to professional competitions. We have it all. And tonight, like I promised, we got a jam-packed and exciting show to wrap up the semester. We're talking Olympics, professional wrestling, yes, I said professional wrestling, sports betting, and much more. To discuss that with me, our analysts will be coming on to bring in the heat, as they usually do. We also got interviews with Canadian International Rugby Sevens player Andrew Coe, Vinny Santorelli of William Hill Sportsbook, and WWE writer's assistant Gio Anatelli. And as always, we want all of you watching to get involved. Leave us a comment down below on our YouTube stream and be a part of our discussions. Send us a question, share us some of your takes, and we'll do our best to bring you on as part of the conversation. No, let's start things off here. All of us Sports Beat hope you are all out there staying healthy and being safe during these tough times. But with that being said, there's no question the sports world too has been shocked, including one of the most prestigious sports stages out there, the Olympic Games. And to help talk about the Olympic Games here with me, we're going to bring on Eddie Fitzgerald, our first analyst of the night. Eddie, pretty incredible, man. The most prestigious games out there, the ones that we probably look most forward to every 4 years, the Summer Olympic Games, got canceled, got postponed after the whole coronavirus situation. What was your initial reaction when you heard that the games would be postponed until 2021?
Well, I was just disappointed. Everybody loves the Olympics. I don't think there's a single person, excuse me, who likes sports and doesn't love the Olympics. Like, there's just so much to watch. Everybody has their own little niche. For instance, in the Winter Olympics, I'm a big curling guy. I love watching curling. It is awesome. And everybody wants the 100-meter dash and see who the fastest man alive is. And when you get that taken away from you, I think I think everybody started to realize that this is going to go on longer than we thought. And I think that was my initial reaction once I saw the Olympics getting canceled, that this pandemic is going to go a lot longer than we thought.
And there's no doubt, I mean, you mentioned it, there's the small niche sports that we kind of get to experience every 4 years that we don't usually watch all the time. I mean, you talk about curling. I can't say, maybe me as a Canadian watches a little bit more curling than the usual person. However, I can't say that we're watching curling on a daily. You mentioned the 100-meter dash. It's something that fascinates me about seeing who is the fastest man or woman on the planet, just something that really intrigues the viewers and intrigues people. But for those athletes, Eddie, can you even imagine or even fathom what they're going through? They train for 4 years for this big moment, and now to get that all shut down. I mean, it did get postponed, luckily. I mean, it is the first time that it got moved or got affected on a problem outside of, let's say, a war, because that did affect the games a long time ago, 3 times before. But as an athlete, you don't expect this. I mean, it rarely ever happens, and now it gets pushed back. What could they be going through?
Well, I think there are two schools of thought. There are the people who are ready to put themselves on the map, those younger athletes who are ready to go out and make a name for themselves and be able to show their skills on the world stage. You know, theoretically, if this happened in 2016, we don't get the Fab Five. We don't get Simone Biles. We don't get these amazing storylines. And furthermore, if this had happened in 2016 in terms of American Olympic athletes, you know, you don't get to see some of these older players. You don't get to see, Landon Donovan or some of these older Ryan Lochte athletes being able to get their last chance, because realistically, your athletic window starts to shore up, and every 4 years, that means that bodies start to deteriorate, skills don't go as well as you want, and younger people start to take those ranks on the Olympic team. So for the older people now, they might have gotten their last shot. And if they aren't able to compete, or they get injured, or God forbid that they get affected by this coronavirus, this impacts everything that they've worked for, and it all just gets taken away from them.
And it's pretty incredible. I mean, you mentioned it, and it's, I guess, something that kind of you forget to think about. The stories that come out of these Olympic Games are always incredible ones. And for it to get pushed back another year, I guess we'll just have to wait for those. But I mean, you mentioned the 2016 moments. There was a big 2018 moment that was big for me when the North Korean and South Korean teams came out together under one flag, and both played on that ice hockey team there in Pyeongchang in South Korea. So yeah, there's a lot of moments there that are born from these Olympic Games that I guess we'll just have to wait for another year. And yeah, these athletes are absolutely devastated. It's hard to fathom what they could be going through. But let's kind of go through the progression of how this kind of began, because for a long time, I mean, I was questioning it, but for a long time, the Japanese and international Olympic committees were pretty adamant that these games were going to continue and that they were going to happen this summer, regardless of the situation. But obviously, the coronavirus pandemic escalated, got a lot worse than a lot of people anticipated. They ended up postponing the games finally. But I mean, what was your feeling? What was your sense as they continued to say that these games were going to happen? Did you have that sense that the final decision was going to be no, that it can't happen at all?
Well, I think that they knew that it couldn't happen, but at the same time, you can't say that early into a pandemic that it won't happen, because this is a huge revenue stream for Japan. If Japan comes out and the IOC comes out and says, all right, it's over, it's done, that means that Japan just lost a ton of expected income to pay for the infrastructure that they had, the Olympic Village, all the arenas, making sure that all the seating and everything is up to code, all the safety standards. That all is still, you're technically still in the red for if you weren't turning a profit already. That means that hotels have to get rebooked. That means that, you know, athletes have to reschedule. And when you're working through all these different things, it just creates a whole bit of a mess, really. And I think that that's where Japan sort of fell into, the fact that they couldn't cancel right away because they knew the economic impact that they would have. And one thing I do want to bring up before we sort of shift topics is that in 2016, the Russian doping scandal would be 4 years. They would have not been able to participate in this Olympic Games. Now that it is pushed back, they will participate. So that is another storyline to keep on the lookout if Russia picks up a couple more gold medals.
Yeah, it definitely throws a little wrench in the whole mix because, like you mentioned, I mean, these athletes were not supposed to compete in these upcoming games, but with the extra year for them to have that extra year of eligibility, to get clean to then compete again. I mean, who knows that the situation? It was such a big scandal. It's incredible. Everything surrounding these Olympic Games and the postponement, the shockwaves that it has, not only within the sports world, but beyond the sports world as well, is massive. And as we continue to talk about the Olympics, it's time to bring on our first guest of the evening. That's international Canadian Rugby Sevens player Andrew Coe, to talk about how he was affected by this whole coronavirus situation. And he was planning to go to Japan this summer and compete in those games. But unfortunately, that was obviously, like we mentioned, postponed. But Andrew, how's it going, man? Long time no talk. Good to see you, my friend.
Well, it's good to see you as well.
All right, so let's hop right into it. And before we kind of get your initial reaction into the whole situation, let's talk about the progression of how your team, how the Canadian Rugby Sevens team was doing kind of leading up to this whole coronavirus pandemic.
Yeah, we were doing pretty well. For those who don't know what Rugby Sevens is, we compete on a series similar to Formula One, where there's 10 tournaments around the world, and at every tournament, you get ranked on how well you do, and you get points for that. And at the end of the 10 tournaments, whoever has the most amount of points wins the entire series. And we were 6 tournaments in, and every tournament we got better as a team, and it accumulated in a 3rd place bronze medal win in Vancouver, and that was the week before everything got shut down. So the very week before this whole pandemic really escalated, we were a bronze medal team. So it's unfortunate that we couldn't finish the season, but we were definitely improving as the year went on.
Now, you mentioned a week before everything shut down, and everything sort of started to shut down once word got around that Rudy Gobert, the Utah Jazz, tested positive, and then boom, the NBA shuts down, boom, the NHL shuts down, boom, the MLB shuts down. Everything gets pushed back. And then Japan, as we mentioned earlier, and the IOC was sort of adamant that they could maybe have the Olympic Games still if everything, persisted. There was enough testing, there was enough research. What was your thoughts about everything getting shut down, and were you starting to speculate that your 2020 Japan run was going to be in jeopardy?
Yeah, well, our very next tournament after Vancouver was Hong Kong and Singapore, and that was in April. And they announced that they were going to suspend that until the fall. So that kind of gave us some idea of what we were going into. And then the next two tournaments were in June in Europe, and then those got suspended. And as soon as those got suspended, I think the Olympics start late July. That's only about 4 weeks off from our tournament that got suspended. So once that happened, we knew that, if we can't train properly, then there's no way that the Olympics are going to go on in July.
And Andrew, sort of a twofold kind of wave of emotions here for you, especially as a Canadian, potential Canadian Olympian here. First, Canada was the first country to pull out, right? And they kind of led this wave of starting to get countries to kind of get behind them. That their athletes are their number one priority. Their health of the athletes are their number one priority. We can't jeopardize this. So Canada made the ultimate decision to not go along with this, and kind of sparked that whole wave of, okay, maybe we shouldn't have these games. So kind of a twofold question here. Your initial reaction, I guess, when Canada announced that they weren't going to go to the Olympics, regardless of whether Japan was going to happen. And then once Japan finally postponed the Olympics, what was kind of your reaction then? Whether that's going from huge disappointment from the Canadian side, and then maybe some relief because it got postponed. But what was kind of your mindset during that period of time?
I was in shock at first. We got an email from the Olympic Committee that said, okay, we're going to do a press release announcing that we're not going to be going to the Olympics, even if they do happen. And I was pretty shocked. But what really triggered me was when they released it and the public found out, and all the outcries of everyone felt bad for the athletes. And that's when I really kind of broke down that, like, this is more than just the Olympics. This is a global pandemic, and Canada is the one leading the way in terms of putting pressure on the IOC, that's saying that it's bigger than just the Olympics. We need to get this sorted from a public health matter, not just an Olympic matter.
Once again, we're talking with Andrew Coe, who is a rugby sevens player on the Canadian national team. Andrew, now with this shutdown, how are you and the team sort of maintaining your physical nature? Because rugby is a very physical game, and you got to stay in shape, because now you have a whole nother year that you have to get through in order to reach that top form to go and strive for gold. What's your workout regimen right now with the team?
We were lucky enough that we were allowed to take all of the weights and any sort of equipment that we needed from our gym. So we have that. I have that in my house right now. And depending on what weights you took, our strength and conditioning coaches have been amazing in terms of creating a workout plan that you can follow. And then in terms of physical fitness, speed, conditioning, we just go for runs. It's pretty easy to do. What's really going to hurt us in the long run is skills and playing with other people, because we're not allowed to see each other, right? So as soon as that happens and we start going through, practicing together, that's when the real training kind of starts. But right now it's just physical fitness. There's no sort of game side of it right now.
And now, last question here, Andrew. It's hard for us as sports fans who really don't go through the gridiron of, making it to the Olympics or going through the professional sports world. But if you have advice, and to kind of put everything into perspective, if you have advice for maybe other athletes going through the same situation, whether that's an Olympic athlete or just an athlete trying to get through these tough times, you experiencing it firsthand, what would you tell those people?
I think one is stay busy. You got to make sure that you're still, you're not lying on the couch for 16 hours a day. Go out, whether it's just going for a walk, going for a run, just make sure that you're staying busy. And you got to stay connected. You got to, keep on top of all your relationships that you have, all your friends, all your family. Make sure that you're still talking to them, FaceTime them or Zoom them or do what you want. Me and my friends have started a trivia weekly trivia. That's how we kind of stayed mentally there.
Yeah, pretty tough time. Well, that is Andrew Coe, international Canadian rugby sevens player, playing to go to the Olympics. You'll have to wait one more year, but it will happen.
Yeah.
Going to get there. But it's always great to speak to you. Thank you for giving the insight and appreciate your time.
Anytime. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Andrew Coe. Man, I couldn't even imagine going through that whole situation where you're planning and working out and getting ready for these games that are literally just a few months away. I mean, he said it. They were on a high point in their season where they had their best finish in Vancouver, finishing third in that circuit. And then for it to just get all shut down so quickly when you're on that first step, man, I don't even know how to explain it to words.
It's tough, Ryan. I mean, these people train like no other. And then, also coming up later this year, it was supposed to be in Switzerland, and Lausanne was the Winter Youth Olympics. That's the next step for getting people to 2022. And now that is also planning on being postponed. So now you're looking at, not only this affecting the Summer Olympics, but further down the line, you've got in 2022 over in Beijing, the Winter Olympics coming, and that just becomes a whole nother issue.
Yeah, definitely not the only Olympic Games, or not the only sports competition that got affected, but definitely one of the more significant ones. 2021, it's going to be weird. It's going to be weird having the Olympics on an odd year in 2021, but I think at the time we'll definitely appreciate it that even more. But Eddie, thank you for your time. Appreciate it. You always bring the good stuff, and we'll bring you on a little bit later to talk what else is going around in the sports world.
Thanks, man.
All right, so now it is time to shift over to what I teased about earlier, and that is professional wrestling. It's not something we talk about often, but the WWE is continuing play through these tough times. And hey, maybe it's one of those things that is going to get our sports craving going and allow us to at least satisfy it somewhat as we look for sports to watch, as I bring on Lou Akimano and Luis Grasso to talk about that with me. Guys, like I said, WWE is not something that we talk about often, yet it is one of the only sports that is going on right now. It's pretty incredible because for me, I can't say that I'm an avid WWE fan. I know both of you guys are WWE heads. I was mentioning how, talking to you guys earlier about, I hadn't watched the WWE, I think, since I was a kid, when it was David Bautista and the Rey Mysterio days, but that's long past me. But for you guys, to see the WWE continue during these tough times, is it easier for the WWE to kind of keep on going because it's a little bit of more of a controlled nature? They have only a handful of athletes that are participating. They can hold it at one singular venue, unlike maybe other sports like basketball, hockey, football, baseball. What is your thoughts on that?
Definitely, Ryan. It's definitely easier for the WWE to continue, and that's why they've been really the only sports entertainment outlet that's still going right now. You look at other teams, like you said, the NBA, MLB, there's so many teams and they're constantly traveling, including internationally. We saw, Boston, the Red Sox versus the Yankees in London last year, and they were going to continue to do that this year. So, they're constantly traveling and they're playing against all different teams with all different players where you don't know where they've been. Isolated in that one building, they're running all their pay-per-views and shows from there. So they're doing the best they can. And so far it's been working.
Yeah, Lewis hit all the talking points right there about that. The fact that, with professional sports, you're traveling every day. You're traveling from one side of the coast to the other within just a couple of hours, realistically. And the fact that the WWE, they're brainiacs, I have to say. Like, what they're doing is just genius. The fact that they're taking their facility in Orlando, still having one of the biggest events of the year, Wrestlemania. And like I said, it was just too big to have it in one night. They split it into two, and they kept the storylines going. And the fact that this is what makes WWE sports entertainment so interesting. It really just these storylines that they create, you can't have that stop and then expect them to bring that back later. And the fact that they kept going is just fantastic.
Well, I can hear in your voice, and I think among many others, the passionate fans that love those storylines. But nonetheless, those fans can't go to the venue and watch those events live. And I think similarly to other sports that have been canceled or are trying to return, I mean, fans bring a certain level of the atmosphere to those events. I mean, I've seen it on TV. I've seen how crazy those events get, especially when you see the ones right around the ring. But for you guys, what is your opinion on that? I mean, I understand that it is a storyline that they're creating, and it's got to have some effect, though, of the product that's being put on TV. What are your thoughts about there not being any fans at these events?
It's different, Ryan. Honestly, like you said, we've been fans for a long time, me and Lou, watching old matches. We've only been accustomed to seeing the fans, and the crowd usually takes over those matches. It's the cheers. It's the chants that drive, it's the WWE universe, them that are the driving electric force for the wrestlers while they're in the ring. The wrestlers feed off that, the emotion, all of it. So now they have to adapt to a silent arena, and they just have to do it that way. But something that I picked out from it when watching their shows since the coronavirus is you can actually hear them, the wrestlers, yelling at each other and going back and forth. And going to what Lou said, that goes with the storylines, because you didn't get to hear that before. So you just heard the crowd that took over everything, took over the arena, all of it. So now it brings to those storylines, it makes it a little more intense. So I think that's kind of cool in that way if you're trying to look at a positive with that about having no fans. But overall, I'm just really looking forward to when they're going to be back in the arena, because, yeah, you get to hear them talk. It makes storylines interesting, but WWE, it runs with fans, and it's all about the WWE universe.
Yeah, I agree with Lewis. It's all about the WWE universe. Well, without them, in my opinion, there is no WWE. The fact that these are the most electrifying fans in sports entertainment, the fact that you hear them yelling in the arena, chanting, or whatever they may be chanting, it's John Cena all the way to Randy Orton, from the yays, the boos, the you sucks, all that is just part of this fantastic storyline that this program has. And seeing it now, it's a little awkward without fans, and I miss it. And like Lewis alluded to, I rewatch the old stuff all the time. We've been DMing each other a lot of old footage of matches that we've seen back in the day, and just the fans, the fact that they're very into it, and it creates this movie-like aspect of how you get to escape reality and jump into this new universe. It's quite an amazing experience to have with these fans.
Well, that's very cute. I'm glad you guys are creating your own little WWE universe to get these tough times together. But last question here before we bring on writer's assistant Gio Anatelli to talk more about the WWE. We have to get into the controversial. And I know that, we want and we're craving sports just to have something to digest, because I think for all of us as sports fans, not just WWE fans, we're just all looking for something to hold on to and try to go to during these tough times. And it looks like WWE may be one of those things right now. But nonetheless, you are still putting the health of not only just the athletes there, but everyone who's involved in the production at risk in a way. I understand it's a controlled situation, but there's still a coronavirus pandemic that is going on in the outside world. What are your thoughts on this? Is it worth the risk? Are they doing it properly? What are your guys' thoughts on that whole situation?
Well, Ryan, I agree. It is a risk. No matter what, it's always going to be a risk. This is a virus that we can't see. We're defenseless. But I think that they're definitely doing it the right way, and I think it's been effective. Every single person who enters the performance center has tests run on them immediately by doctors before they can come in, making sure that they're not sick, that they're okay to perform. And if they're not, then they're fine with that. They'll just, put on a different match. It's not all about the matches anymore. It's really about the safety and just trying to put this on. But luckily, they haven't had too much trouble with that so far. But with these precautions, the wrestlers seem to be okay with continuing, and there's only a few shows per week that they're doing. They're not doing their live shows every day, traveling around the world anymore. It's only a few shows. And for, superstars who don't want to do it, they have the option. You can't deny them. For example, Roman Reigns, he's a star, multi-time world champion, and he has battled leukemia 2 times in his life, has, battled against it, and he's come out healthy. And now he stepped down. He was supposed to be in the main event of WrestleMania. He stepped down. He's probably going to win the Universal title, but for health reasons, he had to take himself and his family. He had to put them first, and the WWE accepts that. So I think they're definitely doing this in an effective way. But if superstars don't want to be involved in it, then I'm sure that they would make it easy on them.
Yeah, Lewis is absolutely right. These are the most fearless athletes known to man, in my opinion. They, just don't put their body out on the line, but now obviously it's their health and the fact that they, with this virus, no one knows anything about it. Particularly, it's invisible. We hear new stuff about it every day. The fact that the McMahons are taking precautionary actions day in and day out and making sure that there is a show, it just shows how much they care and how much they care about their fans as well. The athletes also speak a lot of value to the fans as well during this time, and it gives a lot of people this outlet that they care. And it's really interesting. They could have shut all this down and not have just done any shows, anything for that matter. They could have canceled the biggest event of the year. Honestly, they could have just pulled the plug. But let's bring on someone who knows a little bit more information than us. Hofstra alum, writer's assistant at the WWE, Gio Anatelli.
Hey guys, how are you?
Gio, how is everything, my guy? It's been a long time. How are you doing in this crazy time during this pandemic?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, as good can be. Just being home with my family, working from home, trying to stay as safe as possible, and trying to keep myself occupied.
Yeah, I see you have the Daniel Bryan shirt right underneath with yes.
Double champion, yep. Of course,
exactly.
Had to bring it on.
Exactly. So you're staying occupied, still repping your wrestling gear. But as a writer's assistant in the WWE, when you're actually there, what exactly is your role and responsibilities when putting on live events?
So my role as a writer's assistant, I do a lot. I would say I do a lot of different things on like a lower level, but like a lot of it's taking notes within meetings. So our creative meetings, from as low as being within our team to as high as top exec meetings, figuring out the show, getting it all planned out, and kind of reading you guys my resume here. But basically, it's just I'm the helping out whenever I can, and at shows live, doing working with travel and making sure that everyone's there. Working with props and making sure we have all the props for our in-ring segments. So like a moment of bliss, that set, the chairs and everything, I have to make sure that, everything is there, where it goes, things like that, printing out the scripts, getting it to people, just helping out, whatever basically they ask me to do, I'll do it pretty much.
Gio, you work a lot up behind the scenes, but also you've been in front of the camera in WWE. The fact that I've seen it, I loved it, the fans loved it. Now, with the hiatus of this coronavirus, what's the determining factor of WWE continuing to have their live events without the fans?
So it's basically trying to bring like happiness and hope to people watching at home. Sports has stopped. There's no baseball. We were about to get into the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs. Baseball was just kicking back up. Everything just shut down. And, wrestling is that one outlet that people could go to, that they could watch and, be happy watching and bring a little bit of joy in this, rough times that everyone's in right now. So that was the main factor. Obviously, safety was the biggest thing, and making sure everyone was safe. And all these precautions were made and are being made and are continuously happening. So number one is safety. Number two is bringing, the joy and the happiness back to the fans that, can't be there, but we're going to bring you joy on your TV screens.
Well, like you said, WWE is one of the only sports entertainment still going. Other sports can't continue, but that's only because the WWE has been able to adapt. So I want to ask you, how quickly did the WWE and the rest of, did you and the rest of the WWE company have to adapt to the outbreak of COVID-19 to continue to put on your events?
Well, it was pretty quickly, honestly. Once everything started to happen and the ball started rolling with everything going on around us, we kind of, like I said, got the ball rolling, and just right away, no fans. We started at the Performance Center, just seeing how things can go. I was at the first show where we did no fans at all, and it went really smooth. It was kind of like that trial run for what you see now, and seeing if we could possibly do it. And we didn't even have our full equipment there because we didn't really know the extent of everything that was going on. This was back at probably like right before the quote unquote quarantine, about 8-9 weeks ago, middle of March. And we didn't really know the full effect. So we were just like, okay, let's see how this could work. And then once, things started to happen and it, everything started going on, we had to, adapt and fully start going there. So then we moved all of our equipment down there, and now it's all state of the art down there. And we were very lucky to have this performance center to be out of, because it's really been a savior, I would say, because we can't go into the arenas, we can't travel, and that's the one spot that's our home pretty much.
Gio, you already alluded to this. You guys have the practice facility over in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
You guys had the trial run and it went smooth, but only a few weeks after that, you guys had the biggest event of the year, and that's WrestleMania.
Yep.
Now, you guys, had it for 2 days instead of one night.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you guys would have thousands and thousands of fans for that whole weekend.
Yeah.
What was it like just moving from one location to another and not having those fans for the biggest event in WWE sports history?
I mean, honestly, it sucks. I have to be frank, because I was working there for WrestleMania 35, and hearing that huge pop when Kofi won the WWE Championship, hearing that was just absolutely incredible, and being inside the stadium was one of the coolest moments ever. Even on the kickoff show, the fans were going crazy for some of those matches that you might not expect to be super exciting. So obviously the fans being there add a whole different dynamic to it and liven up the show, especially WrestleMania. It's the biggest night of the year. It's the grandest stage of them all. And that whole weekend is like a whole fest of wrestling. Fans come together. It sucked, but you know what? It turned out really well. I mean, we still put on a good show. I thought the wrestlers came, and everyone did 110%. And, we put on the best show possible for what we were given. And I thought, even though there were no fans, it was still one of a very good WrestleMania.
It was. I watched it myself, and honestly, it was flawless. Honestly, without the fans, I know it was hard to do, and the fact that you guys put on the show that everyone wanted, it lived up to the hype, in my opinion.
Yeah, it adds a different. Some of these wrestlers, they started out wrestling in front of maybe 3, 4, 5 people, and that's kind of what the people surrounding the inside the arena or practice or facility are. It's a couple camera guys and a couple props guys standing around, and that's it. And they're used to that, and they brought the hype. The best wrestlers could bring the hype whether there's no fans or 100,000 fans. It doesn't matter. They're going to bring it each and every single night.
Absolutely. But like you said, the WrestleMania weekend itself, with the fans, everything, I mean, they put on so many things, including the Hall of Fame ceremony, which is an annual thing. And it's something that, as a fan, I know I always looked forward to, because you see some of the best superstars being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
And it's right before WrestleMania. So it's just really exciting. So I want to ask you, since this ceremony was canceled this year, do we expect to see the class of 2020 inducted next year? And a follow-up, out of the superstars that would be inducted between Batista, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, JBL, the Bella Twins, who's your favorite?
So I would assume we're probably going to end up having a ceremony for them. We have to. I mean, it's the only right thing to do. I don't know if it'll be next year for 2021 and combine the two classes, or we'll have it at a different setting, but I'm sure there's going to be a ceremony. I sure hope so. I want to see these guys get inducted, men and women. And out of those group, I'm too young to appreciate NWO for its fullest. I love them, but I'm too young for it. So I have to go Batista. I grew up watching him. I grew up watching The Animal. And he is one of my favorite wrestlers. He just brings it, and he just brings that intensity. And it's just awesome watching him from his career, from when he started to just recently last year at WrestleMania when he wrestled Triple H.
Gio, I just wanted to thank you so much for coming on tonight and giving us a little bit more, a deeper insight into the state of the WWE.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. I love the work that you guys are doing. Sports Beat's great. I wish I did it in college, but you know what? You guys are doing a great job here, and always a pleasure.
Thank you, Gio.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, guys. That was Hofstra alum, writer's assistant of the WWE, Gio Anatelli.
Well, guys, I mean, so much to nitpick from. It's always good to get the insight kind of behind the scenes of how it all works out, especially during these tough times. But I think the thing that kind of resonated with me was the fact that, I mean, these wrestlers, when they were first starting out, wrestled with only 3 people in the stands. And it was kind of similar to a conversation we had last week and last episode about when these professional athletes in whatever sport you may choose, whether it's MLB, NHL, NFL, when they were growing up, I mean, there were their parents in the stands, and that's about it. So it kind of brings it down to this, nature. It's raw nature of the sports form. But before I let you guys go, this is a pressing question that I needed to ask because you guys are such big fans. And hey, maybe I'll throw myself in the mix as well. If Lou Akimano and Luis Grasso were to go head to head and let's say a no DQ match to the death, who's winning it?
You know what? There's different stipulations to every match. I'm a powerhouse. I think I could put him through a table. I could beat him in a tables match. So that's a DQ. I could beat him in anything. Pull out anything. The tables, the ladders. You know what, Lou? It's on.
The confidence. I love it.
All right, hey man, bank pay-per-views this Sunday. We'll have our little match as well, I guess.
Let's go.
I'm ready to put the Dukes up.
There we go. You heard it here first. Lou versus Lou. It's a pay-per-view event that writes itself. We got to get on that. It's going to be a money-making show. But guys, thank you so much for joining me and talking about the WWE. We'll be bringing you on very shortly here to talk what's happening outside and more in the sports world. But for now, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and it is now time to shift over to one of the biggest industries in the entire sports world that may not be known by everyone, but it's surely getting traction, and that is the sports betting landscape. And it's not only one of the biggest industries that were in the sports world leading up to this pandemic, but it was also one of the biggest industries that were affected by this pandemic. And to talk about that with me, I'm going to bring on David Lazar to talk about the sports betting world. It's definitely an interesting one. It's something that has a lot of money in it as well. But it's tough to kind of put into words how they're kind of fathoming this. David, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Not sure if we can top Lou versus Lou, but we will give it our best shot.
All right, so let's do that. And let's hop right in and talk about the sports betting world, because it's tough to imagine a sports betting world that does not have live sports. It's unprecedented. It's something that we didn't see or haven't seen or haven't experienced before. And I'm sure the sports betting world hasn't experienced it before. I mean, the way they're reacting is almost a reflection of how unprepared they were for this situation. But for you, just to start off, how is the sports betting industry reacting to the world without sports?
The public is starting to embrace sports betting, but with no sports, the industry is going to have difficulty proceeding. Executives quickly started exploring how to create hype and encourage spending in the absence of mainstream sports. Simply put, there are two types of gamblers. There's the casual sports fan that does it for fun, maybe on a vacation to Vegas. And then there's the hardcore gambler, where it's a big part of their life. And without sports, the industry is prioritizing how to retain those who make gambling that part of their life, where they do it all the time. To do this, they're popularizing minor sports, niche sports like Korean baseball, ping pong, and other opportunities. So with these sports and with these opportunities, the gambling industry is trying to make a new market.
And that's a perfect segue into my next question here, because that's what we're noticing about the sports betting world, is that they're trying to adapt and find those niche sports that they're talking about. And I mean, this is outside the sports world, but I've even seen sports books in Costa Rica that are putting out odds about the temperature, the high temperature that is going to happen in certain cities in the country. I mean, that is absolutely mind-blowing. But to stick within the sports world, I mean, you mentioned it, the KBO, certain leagues that are happening around the world, the smaller ones. My question for you is, because there's the absence of major sports, and now that there's sports bettors that may get more invested into these niche sports by putting money there as they continue to try to do what they love to do, are these niche sports going to grow traction once all the sports do come back? Maybe there'll be a higher KBO fanship. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's a chance these sports grow. Let's take the XFL, for example. One dagger in the sports industry right now is there's no sports, but the XFL did a great job of trying to stay relevant for as long as possible, and their loss was huge because the XFL was one of the only sports to make sports betting a priority. They made it into their game, whether it was their in-person interviews where they were on the sidelines and the gambling culture around the sport. You had that as a huge part. So I think that sports leagues, if they embrace the sports gambling culture and make it a big part of what they do, you could have an opportunity for these sports to retain popularity. But again, there are two types of markets that you can target. And I think if the sports gambling world focuses on these little niche sports and really embraces the culture around it, you do have a chance to retain popularity. But it will be tough when these sports come back like baseball, hockey, and basketball, just because they're so popular already.
Right. And let's shift over before we bring on Vincent Santorelli of William Hill Sportsbook. I got one more question here for you, David, about kind of the professional sports when that does return. And, it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of strategy, a lot of analytics that goes into sports betting when you're trying to weigh the odds and trying to figure out what may be your best picks. This is something unprecedented that we've never seen before. I mean, we talked about it last week, the shift it's going to have on even just the potential teams that are going to have a shot at winning a championship, whether that's the NHL, NBA, NFL. I mean, there's this extended period of time where athletes can come back that were maybe experiencing injury at the time when the shutdown happened. How does a sports bettor, how does the sports book put this all together and kind of strategize moving forward if sports is to return, if let's say the NHL season is to come back and you have to make a bet on who the Stanley Cup championship is going to be?
That's a good question, Ryan. In sports, we love trends. You see it in football, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are doing really well. Is it because they're the best team? Who knows? Or is it because the hype surrounding the team? You saw it with the Cleveland Browns last year in football. You see it all the time, where people latch onto trends, and I could see that happening in the NHL. The odds could favor teams that are getting players back from injury or had the momentum before they went into the break. People love the winning team. They love the team with the momentum. So you could see the teams like the Bruins, the Lightning, those that are at the top of the NHL, you could have them doing better in the sports books. However, if I were to give advice, I would say maybe take the teams that are a little more under the radar. They're resting up. They're getting players back, because you're going to have these popular teams that everyone wants to put money behind. But what you don't realize is everyone is on an even playing field. You have everyone coming back, everyone not having their legs, everyone not skating as well as they usually do. It's going to be more even of a series, especially with no home ice advantage. So all in all, there will be favored towards the Bruins, the Lightning, those teams that are at the top. However, it's those teams at the bottom that could make a run. So that was a great conversation about the state of sports gambling. And now we have a very special guest for you. Joining me live is affiliate marketing expert at William Hill, Vinny Santorelli. Thank you so much for joining me today.
How are you, David? Thanks for having me.
Of course, I'm doing great today. So let's get right into it. What does your job at William Hill include?
Well, a lot of things at the current moment. I oversee the affiliate partnership program, part of the performance marketing team. But I'm also helping out with our media planning. As you may have seen in the news just a few months ago, we announced a major partnership with CBS Sports, where we will be the official sports betting partner of CBS Sports. They'll be exclusively displaying our odds and such. And there's a lot of planning that's been going on during this, what we're calling a hiatus period without sports. And a lot of that has to do with activating our CBS partnership. Besides that partnership, what makes William Hill special? Well, a lot of it is ingrained in our history. You know, we are 84 years old. We are the only sports book to survive world wars. So we'll certainly survive this pandemic as well. But, you know, William Hill is an actual person. He was taking bets back in 1926. And, you know, we're today still having and holding his traditions true. What's your favorite part about your job? On the affiliate marketing side, it is the global aspect of it. I can have, you know, FaceTime calls or what we use a platform called Blue Jeans in lieu of Zoom. I can have a call with somebody in Australia, and then 5 minutes later, another one in South Africa, and then one in London right after that. So I really love having contact points all over the globe. And on the other side of the spectrum, what are some challenges that you experience? Well, a lot of it has to do with the time differences. We want to make sure that our partners are getting information as quickly as we can get it to them in real time so that they can write their own content. It's a little bit more difficult when you have people on all corners of the globe. We have to kind of find meeting times that are good for everybody and that work around everybody's schedule. So that's really just a common challenge that we've had. You know, in terms of like bringing on new markets and stuff, it's everything that we do has to run through the New Jersey Department of Gaming Enforcement for our digital sports book for the app. It is it's not extremely difficult, but it is extremely regulated. So everything that we do has to be passed through the legal system before we can actually put it on an app and bring it to our customers.
and in your past, what was it like working with the marketing partnership team at Madison Square Garden?
Oh, that was probably the coolest experience of my life. We were servicing some of the most globally recognizable brands, from Pepsi to Lexus to Squarespace, Budweiser, Bud Light, everybody, anybody that was a major partner of the Madison Square Garden company. I was essentially helping activate their partnerships. And it was really cool to be in contact with these people, understand their thought processes, their marketing strategies, and then really tying back to MSG and all the properties that we owned. How can we help them best activate and optimize their dollars with us?
In this industry, one of the important things is being well-rounded, both as a person and a professional. And with you specifically, how have your skills with graphic design helped you in your career?
Well, I think exactly what you just said. It's making yourself as marketable as you can, trying to position yourself best for success. I've used my limited graphic, I wouldn't say limited, I've self-taught in graphic design, I'll put it that way. But I've gotten really good at it, and I've had to use it in some aspect at every job that I've had, whether it's actually creating social posts and graphics for a sports medicine job that I worked in, to reviewing creatives and decks at Madison Square Garden, to now making sure that our creatives align with what our goals are at William Hill. It really has developed my eye for the marketing creative, and yeah, that's how it's going to carry on. I still love to do little projects on the side, and my family will know that I create logos and stuff all the time. So yeah, graphic design is pretty cool.
And obviously, we have to get to the big question of the day. How has COVID-19 affected the sports betting industry as a whole?
Well, you and your co-host just alluded to it before. We've had to get really creative with what we can offer our customers. Sports on the whole have not stopped yet. We have these smaller niche sports that are still live. Nicaraguan soccer has been great for us. The Russian table tennis has been insane. Who would have thought in any world that we'd be talking about that at this point in 2020, that we're talking about betting on table tennis and women's semi-professional golf with the Cactus Tour. That's a small semi-professional tour in Arizona that hasn't stopped playing. And we've posted odds on that. We've taken a lot of action on that. And now coming up with the Korean Baseball League, I think that could, like you guys alluded to, maybe create a little fan base for them here in the U.S.
Moving over to the Garden State, I am sitting in my home in New Jersey right now. I can see your sweatshirt. How did your time at Rutgers University help you in your career?
Well, Rutgers is a great university. They're just so diverse and so connected, and that's really the important part of going to college and selecting a university. It's about how can you have diversity of thought, as well as how can you progress yourself professionally. Because you go to school so that you can position yourself for success in the professional world. And Rutgers had that outlet for me, had that channel.
Looks like that was a great interview with Vinny Santorelli. I can finish his thoughts for him. I love Rutgers. I love our New Jersey pride. It is a big part of our community, and I am sure that it really helped him in his career get to where he was. He did so many fantastic things, and as he discussed, there truly was a lot of things going on in the sports betting world, where you had the Cactus League, you had golfing, you had ping pong, things that, like a lot of people didn't expect. 2020 is a crazy year, and in sports betting, that stays the same. My biggest takeaway from that interview was just all the great things he did in his career, all the great things he does to better himself professionally and as a person, and I really learned a lot.
I think my biggest takeaway is I got to go start watching some Russian table tennis. Maybe there's some money to be made there. Maybe I need to go find this sport, figure out a way to watch it, get a stream growing, because I think I'm going to become the #1 Russian table tennis fan out there. But David, always bring in the good stuff. Appreciate talking sports betting with you. It seems like, it's an industry that's got hit hard, but they're definitely trying to get through the tough times, just like all of us are trying to get through the tough times here. But David, thank you so much. We'll have you on in just a bit to talk more about what's going on in the sports world. And now it is time to shift over about what's happening outside of the sports that we've talked about. I mean, over the past couple of weeks, we've talked about what's going on in the college landscape. We've talked about what's going on in the professional world and the major four sports that happen in North America. There's a lot of other stuff going on, like we mentioned throughout this show. I mean, we have the KBO League that is starting. We have WWE that we've talked about. We have Russian table tennis that apparently we can go to as well. But Tommy Aquilina is now going to come on here and join me as we discuss the other stuff that is going around in the world of sports over the next couple of weeks. Maybe something that sports fans can go to maybe satisfy that sports craving that we continue to talk about. For me, maybe it's Russian table tennis. Tommy, why don't you let us know what's going on over the next couple of weeks in the sports world?
What's going on, Ryan? So obviously you mentioned Major League Baseball not getting underway, but the KBO, South Korea's Korea Baseball Organization, began its regular season earlier this week. It's one of the most talented baseball organizations in the world. You basically have Major League Baseball here in America, and then you have baseball over in Japan, the Nippon Professional League, and then you have the KBO. That's about as good as it gets. And American broadcasters have been calling games on ESPN and ESPN2. So the KBO is airing games on ESPN. Also, NASCAR is going to be coming back maybe really, really soon. NASCAR is looking to host races at Darlington Raceway, 7 races in 11 days from May 17th to May 27th. No fans in attendance, and then also extra safety measures for the racers and the crew. Meanwhile, the Premier Lacrosse League is looking to get going in July. The PLL is in its second year of existence, and what they want to do this year is bypass the regular season and just go right to their PLL Championship Series, which is what they're calling it. They want to host this tournament and have it start on July 25th. And because there are so few teams, only 7 in the league, one of their co-owners went on the Today Show, Paul Rabble, and he said that less than 300 people would be needed to put the entire event on. So they're hoping that gives that a better chance of happening. And then also you've got the UFC. The UFC, some of their events have been canceled, but overall the UFC has not stopped. And UFC 250 is still expected to take place next month in June, although right now they have no current location. And this doesn't even include some of the other sports, such as soccer going on in countries like Turkey and Guatemala. And then also horse racing. They're looking to get the Kentucky Derby and the other Triple Crown races going as well.
Well, it may not be the sports that we're used to, Tommy, but it looks like we do have a fair share of stuff that we can choose from in order to start watching at least some sports and kind of feel somewhat normal during these very abnormal times. And as we continue to discuss that, Tommy, I want to bring on the rest of our analysts here to kind of discuss and get their thoughts on what they may feel like is their sports that they're going to go to. I don't know, guys, if NASCAR is going to be for me. I don't know if I can continue to watch a bunch of guys taking left turns for 3 hours. But I don't know. I talked about it earlier. Russian table tennis is looking pretty interesting for me. But I've hopped all aboard the KBO train. Big Kiwoon Heroes fan. I'm going to go all the way with that league. 144 games. I'm all set. Sitting on the couch, going to watch the whole thing. Lewis, let's start with you, man. What are you going to with all the sports that are apparently going on?
Well, Ryan, you know I'm a baseball head. I'm gonna go with you and say the KBO because they're doing it now. It's like 2 a.m. I'll stay up. I'll watch it. I don't care. I love baseball, and that's what I'm going to be tuning into. Absolutely.
I think one of the most underrated aspects has been the esports community. And one of the greatest things that I've seen on Twitch so far is Blake Snell, DK Metcalf, and Royce O'Neal all in a trios for Call of Duty Warzone. Watching Blake Snell win the Gulag 1v1, impressive. It is awesome. And I love esports. I love video games. So getting to watch some of the athletes just play games that I play, unreal, unprecedented.
I'm going to go with Eddie on that one. If you know me, I'm a very big 2K junkie. The 2K League just debuted yesterday for their season. And honestly, I've seen these guys play before, and I don't know what they're doing with the sticks. I think you guys should probably hand that to me.
There is only one right answer here. That is hockey highlights. We're going to go with a blast to the past. None of these live sports are doing it for me. The only thing that will do it is hockey highlights. They're all over TV, and that is what I've been doing to keep myself busy.
Of course, David. David goes with the straight answer. He's still watching hockey. He loves it to death. Tommy, lastly for you, man, you gave us all the sports. What are you going to be watching out of everything you brought us?
I'm going to be watching the KBO, and I've hopped all aboard the NC Dinos train. Let's go Dinos, baby.
There we go. Dinos, Kiwoom Heroes. We'll see who comes out on top. But Lou and Eddie, that sounded like a challenge to me on the stick. So, Lou, I think I'm going to have to take you on 2K. Send me over your username. We'll get back to it. Eddie, Warzone, bring it on, buddy.
Yo, let's get some dubs, Ryan. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's do it, man.
Yo, why is everyone coming after my throat this episode? I got a match with Lewis. Ryan wants to play 2K.
Great way to send you off.
Oh, man.
We'll get it all set up, guys. But honestly, great to have you as well. That's going to wrap up our sports talk portion of this show. But before we go, I mentioned it at the top. This is our last show of the semester. And it also means that it's also the last show for some of our graduating seniors. So let's hear some of the parting words from some of those seniors. And Lou, you're one of those seniors, man. Let's hear what you have to say as you move on to the next stage of your career.
Yeah, this is crazy. The fact that Mother's Day, I'm going to start by saying this off because she means the world to me. Mother's Day is right around the corner. So I just want to start by thanking my mom. If it wasn't for her constant encouragement and for always believing in me, I wouldn't even be at Hofstra if it wasn't for her. Thank you, Dr. Peter Gershon, for coming up to me after my first show last spring and asking me to come back and audition the following semester. If anyone does remember my first show, I was a last-minute substitution, if you will, and it was my very first performance at Hofstra University for anything. It definitely wasn't my best, but to be honest, I'm glad it happened because it made me want to be better. I've grown so much from it. I had the opportunity to be doing the live view, the very first person to do the live view for Hofstra men's basketball for Sports Beat, alongside a spectacular crew who worked so hard to make sure it was perfect. Without any of you guys, the crew, none of these shows would have been possible for the Heat Network. Shout out and a big thank you to the producers on this show, Marissa Santorelli and Emily. You guys have just been putting out content when you guys honestly, with this whole outbreak, could have stopped. And if it wasn't for the help of David Henney, that mastermind, I wouldn't be talking about what I love so much on this program. To my other mentor, I know he's watching, Glenn Long Island Petritus. I learned so much from you during my internship at MSG and at the Long Island Nets about the industry and life in general. I owe this man a great gratitude of my success. Also, a big thank you to my brothers in Phi Delta Theta for their constant support. I know we had Gio on here. He was an alumni of Phi Delta Theta. I saw Matt Ben-Marito's comment. He's an alumni. And a couple guys who feel like brothers to me, Dante Amio. The fact that, if it wasn't for him, this journey in high school, and not a lot of people know this, but I've been best friends with him since second grade, and we decided to go to college together. Tommy Aquilina, gunna man, I love you. Those long nights of just talking and reviewing film. Robbie, the editor, my guy from Morristown, New Jersey. The fact that he always constantly pushed me to get better. To my little brother Mike in my fraternity. My guy Lewis, who apparently I'm going to have a nice wrestling match with him this Sunday right after Money in the Bank. Thank you guys for constantly believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you for everybody watching and enjoying the ride with us. This has really been an amazing experience and definitely one I'll remember forever. I got a lot of emotions right now. I think I'm going to cry soon, but thank you so much for everything. So I'm going to throw it off over to Ryan, another senior who deserves a little bit of spotlight right now for his senior send-off. Ryan, take it away.
Thanks, Lou, man, and thank you to you as well. I mean, you've done so great. To see you improve over this time has been truly remarkable to watch. But I think you put it perfectly. Crazy. I mean, I cannot believe that the time has come where we're slowly approaching the end, especially at my time at Hofstra after a really quick 2 years that have flown by. And when we start to go, and as I start to experience this last couple of weeks, it's hard not to reflect on all the opportunities this university and the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication have opened up to me. I mean, I came from Toronto up north, not knowing about Hofstra. I wasn't pursuing a journalism career, and then coming down here for them to give me all the opportunities available to me to really grow as a journalist and as a broadcaster has been truly incredible, and one that I'll forever be grateful for. And I mean, one of those great opportunities that it brought me to was allowing me to host and talk sports, one of my greatest passions on this great show, Sports Beat. I mean, becoming a sportscaster has been a big dream of mine for a very long time, and this show allowed me to get, I think, one step closer to achieving that dream, teaching me a tremendous amount as I move on to the next stage in my career. But it's not only everything that I learned during this time, but it's also all the amazing, I cannot stress that enough, people that I've met along the way as well. I mean, I'll start off, I can't thank enough all of the relentless hard work that this entire Sports Beat team, both the ones you see on camera and the ones you see behind the scenes, that they put into every single show to make it possible, especially during these tough times. I mean, this is unprecedented times that we've talked about, and for them to have the perseverance and the drive to make this all happen, it's truly inspirational. It's pretty incredible. And I need to thank Dr. Peter Gershon. Thank you for everything you do for this show and other Heat Network productions that I've been a part of. I mean, your helpful advice after every show, after everything that I've done, will be carried with me throughout my career. And you have no doubt been a big part of my growth as a broadcaster, that I'll truly make sure to carry on for the rest as I continue to pursue this dream. To all the talent, I mean, you guys that I've worked with day in and day out, those meetings that we have discussing what we're going to talk about on the show. I mean, for you guys here, David, Lou, Lewis, Eddie, Tommy, and many others, you guys made it an absolute blast to come in and do this show every week. And I definitely cannot not thank my family, mom, dad, my brother, Matthew, even my grandma, aunts, uncles, cousins that are all tuning in. Love you guys so much, and really you guys inspire me to continue pursuing this dream. And of course, my friends as well who are tuning in. I mean, just to know that there's my family and my friends and people that are watching this in support of me, it's really a rewarding feeling and something that continues to fuel that drive that I have every single time that I get on camera. And finally, definitely last but not least, to my producers, Emily and Marissa, thank you so much for allowing me to come on your show and do what I love to do. Without you guys, this is not a joke. This show would not have been possible. Your contagious enthusiasm and dedication is inspirational, and being a part of this show under your guys' direction will be something that I will cherish forever. It was a great opportunity that you guys gave me to host this show, and I really can't express how much that means to me and how much I thank you guys. But this show means so much to me. It's something that I will remember forever. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you all that make this possible, and all that I've worked with over this short amount of time. But to wrap off these senior send-offs, we need to give to the floor to one of those amazing people that I mentioned. One of the most incredible people that I know that makes it all possible, and that is my producer and amazing friend, Marissa Santorelli. Marissa, why don't you take it away?
Ryan. This is weird. I'm live on Sports Beat right now. I didn't think that was gonna happen. I'm usually live on Half today, so this is a little bit of a different pace, but it's a good different. First off, I just want to say a big thank you to Dean Luke for obviously for so much, but specifically for our beautiful Studio B. We were honored to have actually had our first episode and the only Heat show that was able to use that facility, the new facility at the beginning of the semester. It was a true honor. It was so much fun to work in. But thank you again for all of your developments across the Lawrence Herbert School of Communication. We are indebted to you. Thank you so much. This is going to be hard. To Dr. Peter Gershon for, I think I like message him and email him every other day saying how much I appreciate him, but thank you will never be enough for the kind of support and encouragement that you give each of your students. I am so blessed and so honored to have been a student of yours and to even have you as a mentor of mine. So thank you so much for all that you've done for me and all that you've done for all of your students. You are so loved and so appreciated. I have to give some recognition to Tim and Fred in the School of Comm, who kicked me out of the School of Comm on a number of occasions and have left the building open so much longer than needed and stayed late just so I can get a project done or get some stuff for Sports Beat done or have like a post-mortem wrap. Thank you for all of your support and for always just making us smile literally every single day that I see you guys. To Sophie, our amazing GM, our general manager, your support across the board has been incredible. And to have known you as a brother in Zeta Phi Eta, as our general manager and just as a friend has been an absolute pleasure. So thank you for everything. I have Emily on FaceTime crying right now. But to all of my friends and family, thank you for your constant love and support. You guys constantly lift me up, and I am so grateful to have you all in my corner. Not many people have had the kind of support and love that I have, so thank you so much for that. And finally, to some people who've made this experience as invaluable as it has been, to my incredible talent, our hosts, our panelists, our week ahead and week in review kids that we had actually live in Studio B. Thank you for making this last year or so just so much fun. You have each been incredible to work with, and it has been a pleasure to watch each of you grow. To our Heat crew, this show literally is not possible without each and every one of you. You're each a moving gear in the machine that is Sports Beat, and you know what I'm talking about. And we are just so grateful to have worked with each and every one of you. To the heart and soul of this show, Ben Kessler, Joe Reiter, and Liz Gutierrez, you three have been so incredible to work with. Your drive and your dedication to our show and to just creating some awesome content is just so admirable. And I'm so lucky to have worked with each of you, even though Joe drives me absolutely crazy. I feel like I'm missing someone. I'm just kidding. Emily, I could not forget my partner in crime, my literal better half, and my co-producer, Emily Bradbury. Emily, working alongside you has been nothing short of an honor. You are driven, you are hardworking, and literally one of the most talented people I know. You are quite literally one of a kind, and I am so excited to see you continue to produce this show and take it to absolutely new heights. Thank you for everything and for supporting me as a brother, as a co-producer, and again, as a friend. I am so blessed to have worked on this incredible show. I've made some of the best memories of college and Heat, and especially in Sports Beat. One more comment before I hop off here, because this isn't my space to be in. Shout out to all the women in sports media. For a show that has 2 female producers and a female production manager, I am just so proud to be on this show and to be in this business. And thank you to SportsBeat for being able to give us a platform to show our talents, to show our passion, and to be able to live our dreams on a scale that is just unfathomable every single day. So thank you so much to everyone and to everybody watching. One last little thing. We have a little video that I had no part in. This is Emily and Ben through and through. Putting together a little senior send-off video that we would like all of you to watch. It is on the YouTube page, on the School Communications YouTube page, and on our Facebook page. We posted it directly before the show started at 7. If you guys want to go take a look, our talent have not seen it yet, so they're going to watch it right now. Tune in like literally 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. I'll take myself out of here.
Man, guys, I don't even know what to say. It's hard to kind of, slowly get to the end of the show knowing that the time is slowly dwindling down. But the amazing people, so many people in there that have, put so much heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears into this show to make it all possible is truly incredible. And I really can't thank, everyone enough for everything that they do for this show and, allowing us to do, I think, what we all love to do so much, and that is talk sports.
Yeah, absolutely, Ryan. The fact that, we all share that common goal, just want to talk sports and be on the camera and just express our thoughts and minds out there in the public and just be a name for ourselves. At the end of the day, this was just a truly amazing platform, and it sucks to say goodbye, but you know what? I'm glad we got to say goodbye. With this whole outbreak happening, I didn't know if we had that chance, but I'm glad it happened like this.
Oh man, guys, what are we gonna do? We don't have you guys anymore. Like, it's gonna stink. I mean, like, you guys have taught me so much, and you guys are some of the people that I look up to, like, within our own Lawrence Herbert School, department, and not just Sports Beat, and not just WRHU, Heat Network, whatever. You guys are just genuinely good people, and good people deserve good recognition. And I'm glad that you guys got that.
The professionalism in which this was done just blew me away. Being able to transfer onto this online platform and be able to say goodbye to our seniors was something I was scared that we wouldn't be able to do. But having this opportunity is a really big honor that I'm proud to be a part of, and I'm really sad to see our seniors go. However, I will definitely be taking the memories and the lessons that they've shared with me and using it to become a better journalist and a better person. So to our seniors, both on air and in our crew, thank you so much.
Exactly. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Lou. You guys remember this. You guys took me under your wing at the beginning of the year, my freshman year. We did the audition together for Sports Beat, the three of us. And, for me, coming into Hofstra and not feeling 100% comfortable and everything yet and going out for auditions that first week, you guys, like I said, you took me under your wing and you taught me so much. You guys are great humans. You guys are great people, not just performers, but great human beings. I've loved spending this time with you guys so much, and I'm so glad that I was able to be a part of this, virtual Sports Beat and send you guys off the right way.
You guys both know how much you mean to me. At the radio station, Lou, I don't know where I would be without your help. Ryan, I remember when you came into the radio station, I was like, there's one of the good ones. There's someone that I know is going to do well in this business. And I'm happy that I've gotten to know both of you as much as I have. Ryan, I'll never forget hosting that first show over the summer when we were able to do Empire on TV. And Lou, like I said, you and I have just spent a lot of time together inside and out of the radio station. So I love you guys, and I hope I wish nothing but the best for both of you.
Well, guys, thank you so much for your time.
Whoa, Ryan, wait. We never thanked Marissa. All of us never thanked Marissa here. Come on. You guys had your send-offs, but we never got to thank Marissa. Oh, my God. Keep up doing good things. Holy smokes. Wow.
I was not wrapping it up yet. I can't handle it yet.
Can't do it. I
just want to re-emphasize just Marissa, Emily, everything that you guys done has been truly incredible for all of us, and we're all in the same boat here. And I just want to really emphasize and congratulate all the other seniors that will be graduating alongside myself, Lou, and Marissa, that will be moving on to accomplish, I am sure, and no doubt in my mind, the way that I've seen everyone's work ethic that's part of the Sports Beat show and part of this production move on and do bigger and better things. So congrats to all of you, and I wish my best to all of you as well. So guys, you think it's time to finally wrap this stuff up? It's hard to do, but I think the time has come. That will do it for our final Sports Beat show of the semester. Thank you to all our amazing analysts, Lou, Lewis, Eddie, Tommy, and David. Thank you to all of our special guests, Andrew Coe, Vinny Santorelli, and Gio Anatelli for joining us. Oh boy, and for one last time, I'm your host, Ryan Yee. Thank you, Hofstra sports fans, for tuning in. And until next time, remember to roar with pride.
One last time this year.
Yo, tune in.
Go long, Lou. Go long. Yes! We did it.
Love you guys, man.
Yo.
Love you guys.
Yeah.